A Canadian man who lost his family in this year's Ethiopian Airlines crash is speaking out about the firing of Boeing CEO Dennis Muilenburg. Paul Njoroge lost his wife and 3 children when the Boeing 737 MAX 8 crashed in March. Boeing has been under fire since the crash was linked to problems with the jetliner's anti-stall software. This is what happened to Ethiopian Airlines Flight 302 after it took off from the capital at 8:38 a.m. on March 10th. Normally, a plane's vertical speed, the rate at which it climbs, is steady and stable as it approaches cruising altitude. But almost immediately, the plane's vertical speed was erratic, speeding up and slowing down as it climbed. Witnesses say the plane was swerving before it crashed into a field about 60 kilometers southeast of the airport. Boeing is facing lawsuits and investigations over the 737 MAX 8. As Mike Armstrong reports, Njoroge says a shuffle at the top won't make a difference to the company's reputation.
As you know, a couple years ago,
Boeing may have booted CEO Dennis Muilenburg to the curb, but Paul Njoroge won't call it anything more than a step in the right direction, a first step with many more needed. He says he should be celebrating Christmas with his wife and children. Instead, he's stuck remembering the terror his family must have felt over the 6 minutes they were plummeting to the ground.
It's the most difficult thing, living your life, thinking about a plane coming down all the time.
Njoroge says he is the voice of his wife and children. This summer, he took that voice and his pain to U.S. lawmakers investigating Boeing. He's also part of a lawsuit launched in April.
I was not there to help them. I couldn't save them.
The investigation.
Njoroge says Muilenburg's resignation should have come months ago. He should have been out after admitting he ignored warnings about the 737 MAX jets. Muilenburg kept the planes in the air after the Lion Air crash in 2018, even though problems with the MCAS anti-stall system had been flagged.
After the crash of JT610, they saw the people who died as just mere Indonesians. They never considered them as human beings enough to ground the plane.
Muilenburg's replacement is new CEO David Calhoun. Not exactly new to the company. Calhoun's been a member of the board for a decade. Njoroge calls it playing games. The company, he says, is replacing one man who cared about profits more than safety with another.
They are responsible for the deaths of 346 people. Their place is in prison. They should be charged of manslaughter.
With the 737 MAX still grounded and no end in sight, there isn't much reason to keep building new planes. Boeing is set to suspend production of the 737 MAX in January. The company's bleeding money. It lost close to $3 billion just last quarter. The company has put heavy pressure on the FAA to recertify the aircraft and get it flying again. But that doesn't mean they'll be in the skies over Canada anytime soon.
Because it's not just the U.S. regulators, it's the foreign regulators. They've already made public statements that they're not going to rubber stamp whatever the FAA does. So they're saying, we don't care if the FAA recertifies the plane quickly. We're going to recertify it on our schedule.
Boeing has set up a compensation fund for the families of the victims. It's $50 million. That works out to about $144,000 for each family.
Senator.
Meantime, Muilenburg's compensation for being forced out by the board could be worth a reported $30 to $40 million. Mike Armstrong, Global News, Montreal.